For people who don't know, a lot of seasonings have gluten in them. You can't just go to the
Most.
store and grab something off the shelf. Um,
No.
and you can't assume that you look at the label, it's not going to say contains gluten necessarily.
Right.
So,
No.
your seasoning mixes are all gluten free
Yes.
and dairy free,
All
correct?
gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free, nut-free. I wanted to be as allergy friendly as possible so I could help as many people as possible.
Hi, this is Susan with Mommy High Five, and this is Inspiring Moms Podcast. Today's guest is Janae Cox of Clean Monday Meals. Janae is a wife and a mother of 5 children and the owner of Clean Monday Meals. Janae is very transparent about her journey with celiac disease and polycystic ovarian syndrome, as well as her daughter's journey with juvenile type 1 diabetes. Welcome, Janae.
Thank you. Thanks for having
Thanks
me.
for being here. Can you give us a little bit more background on how Clean Monday Meals came to be?
Oh my goodness. Yes. So Monday Meals actually started just because I was meal prepping. I got diagnosed with celiac disease, and on my personal Janae Cox page, I was sharing all of my recipes, everything that I was eating and making. And one day I was like, maybe my friends don't really care about this. And so I talked to my sister and I was like, I think I'm just going to start a food page where I can share all this, and like people that actually want to follow can follow, and my friends that don't care what I'm doing don't have to see it all the time. So we were just talking on the phone, and I was like, what should I call it? It was completely a random move. Like, I had zero intention of building a business when I created this Clean Monday Meals account. So she came up with the name actually. She's like, maybe you always meal prep on Monday, so just call it. And she came up with Clean Monday Meals, which is kind of funny. She's like, so when am I going to get credit for that? Yeah, it was funny. She said that the other day. But so I actually started this account to kind of just spread awareness and to help other people who were also struggling with gluten-free meals. Because when I was diagnosed, everything out there was so complicated. It felt super overwhelming. And so I kind of dumbed gluten-free down for myself and figured maybe other people wanted to see it that way as well. And Clean Monday Meals kind of took off pretty quick after I started sharing. And I didn't actually realize at the time how many people were also suffering and dealing with so many autoimmune disease, because to me it was a foreign thing. When I got diagnosed, I had never heard the word celiac disease. I had no idea what it was. And so when I started to share, I was like, whoa, there's a lot more people actually who are dealing with this as well. So it was kind of eye-opening to me to see that.
Well, I know personally, we have really benefited from all that you are doing. I have a child with celiac disease, and you have been a lifesaver for us in your
Oh,
recipes
thank
and
you.
your seasoning mixes. And I find a lot of strength from you being real about what this is and all of the health ramifications and the social ramifications of dealing with not being able to eat what everyone else is eating when they're eating it, going to a party, whatever. There have been days that I've been crying when my son has a high school banquet and he can't eat anything there. Um,
Yeah.
so I really appreciate all that you're sharing and the awareness you're
You just gave me
bringing.
the chills. It's hard. Being a parent with somebody with autoimmune disease is hard. So kudos to you for being so amazing and supporting your son, because you don't deal with it,
I
right?
do not.
Okay. So that's something I think we're going to talk about later on in the questions as well
Yes.
that you had. Okay.
Yes.
So
So when you started Clean Monday Meals, you talked a little bit about this, that you weren't envisioning building a business.
I was not.
How has your vision changed?
I think when I started and I realized the amount of people I was helping, I think my like God-given gift was always to help people. Like I've always, since I was a little girl, I wanted to serve, I wanted to help people. And God knew that giving me this trial, that was going to be extra hard for me, but He knew somehow that I was going to be able to take this and make something great out of it. And The vision has always been to help people, tell people through their challenges, their trials. And so the vision has only grown bigger because I've been able to grow the business. So it's like with the seasonings launching and the Mealtime subscription launching, it was like I get to help people at a greater level and I get to serve people at a greater level. So the vision is only growing more to help people. And like the more I come out with ideas for more seasonings and more products, it's like I get to help that many more people that are in the same boat as me and Colby. And that just feels amazing. So as I continue to grow and my dreams get bigger, the vision will always to be to help people as much as possible. I will always, like you said, keep it as real as possible because I feel like there's a lot less of that in the world right now. And I want people to understand the good, the bad, the ugly, and the ins and outs of dealing with an autoimmune disease, but also that it is doable, that it is manageable, and that like at the end of the day, it's going to be okay.
That's awesome. For people who don't know, a lot of seasonings have gluten in them. You can't just go to the store and grab something off the shelf.
No.
And you can't assume that you look at the label, it's not going to say contains gluten necessarily.
Right.
So
No.
Your seasoning mixes are all gluten-free.
Yes.
And dairy-free,
all
correct?
Gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free, nut-free. I wanted to be as allergy-friendly as possible so I could help as many people as possible because that's always the main objective, like I said before. And so when I was creating the seasonings, in the beginning, my ramen seasoning, the chicken bouillon, I couldn't find a chicken bouillon without soy protein or yeast extract. And it's like people are dealing with soy issues, allergies. And so I dedicated time to figuring out my own seasoning blend for the bouillon to make my seasonings even more allergy friendly because I wanted to be able to, like when people came to the expo and they were like, oh, I can't have soy, dang it, I was so excited for your ramen. It truly broke my heart because that one person was coming and hoping that they could have my seasonings and they couldn't. And so I will always continue to create products that allergy friendly as possible. So autoimmune disease, once you're dealing with one, there's so many others that can attack, just like Colby with her type 1, and now she has celiac, and then we have to watch out for thyroid issues, and food is related to all of it, and so I will always try to be helpful in that regard of seasonings for sure.
Well, we sure appreciate it, and I think you're saving a lot of people a lot of frustration and a lot of time in searching for something or trying to figure out how to make it themselves. So thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you.
That's fantastic.
No, thank you. That means a lot.
What do you find the most rewarding with your business?
Getting messages, like it makes me emotional, but like getting stopped and being told like, thank you for doing this, or you saved my son's life, or I can finally eat ramen again after 10 years, or thanks for sharing your story because I went gluten and dairy free and I was able to get pregnant. And thanks for sharing Colby's journey because I ended up in the hospital with my son and we caught it in time because you shared your story. The messages I receive will always be the most rewarding. It is being I never intended to be a working mom. I was always a stay-at-home mom before this started. And so sometimes that adds a complexity to running a business as a mom. And it can be hard and overwhelming, but those messages will always bring me back to like the core purpose, which is helping people. And that is the most rewarding thing.
That's fantastic. I'm glad that you are getting some of that feedback because I know as a mom, we're feeling that for sure.
Yeah.
Going along with that, what you were just saying about your kids, what do you hope they're learning from your journey?
It's interesting. This was like a big topic of conversation last month. So I was feeling the mom guilt so heavy. Like, am I doing enough as a mom? Do my kids see that? Do they see that I'm helping and serving a greater purpose for mankind? Or do they just see that I'm working and it's hard on them and it's overwhelming for them? And I told my husband, I'm like, I don't know how to figure out the fine line of being a mom and working because I want to help as many people as possible. And it was this kind of like guilt ridden feeling. And I actually said, like, that day, I was like, I need some sort of lightning strike that, like, hey, you're doing a great thing. God knows that this is a purpose that he's giving you. And I actually received a note from my daughter that was probably the sweetest thing. I should send you a picture of it so you can see her little handwriting. But it said, like, Mom, I just want to let you know how proud I am of you. She's 9. She said, I love watching you help people. It's amazing to see how many people you're helping in the world, and it's so inspiring, and I hope that one day I can be just like you. And that was like the lightning strike that I needed, because it was directly from my daughter. She doesn't say, like, you work too much, you're doing too much for other people. It's like she saw that I'm helping people, and she wanted to be like me. And so we have conversations all the time, and I ask my kids, like, if I'm in the car and you need my attention, please tap me or say something. Like, I will hang up any phone call to make sure that you know that you're loved and that you're important. And no work thing is more important than you guys. So if there ever is a time that you feel like I'm taking work over you, please stop me. Please tell me, because I won't do that. And so it's always an open-ended conversation with my kids about that, because I never want them to feel neglected or unloved because I'm working.
I love that. I think a lot of us as parents need to do more of that and let our kids know that they are always the most important, no matter what we're doing.
Yeah.
Tell me about how your life and your view as a mom have changed having a child with autoimmune diseases.
So before Colby was diagnosed, it was just me, and I was actually still cooking all normal food for my family, because I felt like I was the burden and I was the one that was the different one. And so I would meal prep, and I would eat all my meal prep meals, and I would cook normal food for everybody else, because to me it was much easier to go about it that way. Well, the second Colby was diagnosed, the whole family went gluten-free, because I didn't want Colby to feel different or not normal, or I was making a separate meal for her and everyone was eating something different. So having a child with an autoimmune disease completely changed our whole entire life, because I could have gone the rest of my life making just me food and being okay with it, but I never want her to feel left out. So in our home, being gluten-free is really, really easy. Outside of our home, it becomes a lot more complicated and a lot harder. But as a family, we made that decision. We sat down with our kids. We talked to them about the ins and outs of Colby, and we still have some packaged foods that's not gluten-free, because I have little kids and we have a big family, and going completely gluten-free, but all food that I make is gluten-free. So having a child with autoimmune, I mean, it completely changed everything for us.
Tell me a little bit about what you do for Colby when she goes somewhere else to eat, or.
So, oh man, depends on the activity or where we're going. If it's a family event, we have the most supportive and loving family in the whole entire world. We feel so blessed and lucky. Everybody always is asking, what can we make for you? What can we make that's gluten-free? Or I'm asking, what are you planning for dinner? So either I can bring my own seasoning to add with the meat, or we can, so family is amazing. That is easy. Friends becomes a little bit trickier and a little bit harder, especially now that she's at the age where she's a teenager and there's parties and school dances and all these things. I will always keep in my freezer some treats. So if she's going to a party, she can grab like a cupcake or a cookie or a donut out of the freezer. It will defrost by the time she's there, so she has something. When we're going to, like, this summer, we went to like a football party, a banquet for my son, and it was at a park, and it was a pizza party, and everyone brought pizza. And so I actually cooked a gluten-free pizza before we left, put it in a Tupperware, and she ate her own pizza out of a Tupperware at the park. And I try to include the same type of food, that if we're going somewhere, that she's going to eat something similar or the same. So, but it's always asking in advance. Girls camp. Luckily, we have amazing leaders in our ward and our church that are super helpful and accommodating. But before she goes to girls camp, they'll come over, they'll ask what she can have. We'll get a list of foods that she can eat there. They surround their menus with gluten-free items that Colby can have. And then I will provide the seasonings or the extras just to ensure that it's gluten-free.
It's a lot of work, but it's
a lot of work. And it doesn't like, even with type 1 diabetes, it's like a constant, like around the clock, you're always thinking about it. With food is like everything in our lives. We're controlled by food. Every party, every event, everything that you go to, it's like the first thing people think of, like, what are we going to feed them? What's the food going to be there? Breakfast, lunch, dinner. So constantly I'm always thinking about her and myself, but her mostly, because I feel like as a child, your feelings get hurt a little bit more if you can't eat certain things. And there are instances where I try my very best and we come short. And, we have days where she cries and it's hard and it's emotional because go to a family party and I made one of the treats, but someone else brought a different treat. And it's like, oh, that looks really good. I would like to eat that one, but I can't,
right.
So even those days that we try hard to bring everything and be on top of it, we're not always successful.
Yes, definitely understand. And I'm really glad that you are shedding some more light on this. I know for me as a parent of a child with celiac, a lot of times people will say, oh, your kid's just picky, or a little bit of gluten's not going to hurt him. And it's so frustrating because I think you don't see him for the 7 to 10 days after he's accidentally consumed gluten and he's bloated and having diarrhea and just so sick. This is not a choice. It's not a choice anyone would make.
It's not a choice. And I think it's getting a little bit more common and people are understanding it a little bit better. And something I've learned too with Colby after she was diagnosed with type 1, people don't know what they don't know. And if they're not living it and they're not thinking about it all the time, they have no idea what we're going through. And so I used to get frustrated. It's like, why, even with my own siblings, it was like, hey, we're gluten-free. Like, that we're gluten-free. Please be more accommodating. And it was just like, they couldn't grasp it. And then I got to the point where I was like, oh my gosh, Colby was diagnosed with type 1 and I had a niece with it. And I had zero idea what they were going through. Type 1, like I watched my sister-in-law and my niece go through it. And I was like, and then I kind of took a step back and I was like, this is kind of the same thing with celiac. Like, it's a day in and a day out thing. And if you're not constantly having to think about it, you easily forget that it's in an onion soup mix packet. And that can be detrimental for someone like us or your son, but their intentions weren't to hurt us, or, you know what I mean? And so I've had to learn how to be okay with that as well, that side of things, because it is hard to manage the people and what they're saying at all times. So I don't know if I'm getting that out correctly, but it's like, it's so hard when people say those things because I wish they understood, but I'm trying to give people more grace because they really don't get it.
That's a very good point. And a lot of people are willing to try.
A lot of people are.
Sometimes you can't, for me, sometimes I want to be kind to them, but I know that they don't really understand what it takes to actually keep something gluten-free. So sometimes I just have to insist when they say, well, I can make something gluten-free. Well, we'll just send him something. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, for sure.
So what advice do you have for parents of kids with autoimmune diseases who are dealing with all these hard things?
I think my number one advice would be to give them a little bit more grace. I think sometimes, and especially in our society, it's just be strong, smile through everything. It's okay. Everything's fine. But as a mom with a child, and this might be something that's even for you a little bit harder for your son, and like you love them and you want to do everything to protect them. But I have moments where I sit in my closet and I cry because I can't eat certain foods and it makes me overwhelmed. Or I go to a party and I'm upset about it. And I'm 35 years old. So I can't even imagine the feelings and the emotions that are tied to like the kids that have to deal with it, because they're surrounded with a lot more food and a lot more temptation. Like in classes at school, that's so hard for them, because I'm sure when kids bring donuts for class parties or cupcakes, like those are the things that our kids are being way more exposed to than even us as adults are. And so I would say be open with your kids, talk to them about how hard it is, let them cry about it, and don't tell them to not express their feelings, because they need to know that it's okay to cry and that it's okay to know that it's hard, because it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to have to deal with. And so they should understand and know that it's okay to cry about it, and to give them a little bit more grace on the moments that they're throwing a little tantrum or a fit and they're upset about something. And it's, it allow them time to cope with the diagnosis themselves, because being a kid is much harder than being an adult with it, in my opinion. But I think also you have the other side where it's being an adult and you've lived this way your whole entire life, and then all of a sudden you have to make the change. It's really, really hard. But I just think kids are exposed to a lot more food than we are.
Absolutely. And I think that that is really, that's really good advice. And remembering that we need to let kids feel their emotions, and that's okay, because society is not letting us.
We have crying pity parties together sometimes. Sometimes we both cry and then we suck it up and we're okay. And we sit in a room for a second and we talk about it and then we're okay. But having that time to know that it's okay for her to cry, I feel like it's important for her to do that.
Agreed. So earlier you were talking about mom guilt. I'm wondering how you balance your family and your business and all of the things that you're doing, fitting in self-care. How do you do that? What's working for you?
I'm still trying to navigate and figure that out, man. It's hard. There's days where I tell Kevin, I'm done. I'm going to quit. I can't do it anymore. I just need to be a mom to my kids. They need me. And then I get a message from somebody that's like, thank you so much for sharing what you did. Or someone stopped me even this morning. Someone stopped me and said, like, I look forward to your Monday meal prep. It's so inspiring. You make things look so easy and simple, and just even those little messages. So it's like, I know I have to continue to keep what I'm doing. I don't think that there will ever be a perfect balance of working and being a mom. And if someone figures it out, they should tell the world, because I'm ready for that book. I'll read it. But I just try my hardest to make sure that my kids know that I love them. Like I said previously, I have intentional conversations with my kids about working and being a mom, and also like helping other people. I try to make sure I'm taking care of myself by going to the gym and doing the things that I love, because that helps me to be a better mom. I feel like allowing myself to take the time for myself so I can be a better mom is really important. And the days that I don't go, everyone feels it. Like, they know that I didn't get to the gym that day. They know I'm not as happy as normal. So, and I have an amazing support system. Kevin is phenomenal. And like, he comes home from work, and if I'm like, I'm so sorry, I didn't get the laundry done, or I didn't get this done, he's like, babe, I don't care. I'll help you with it. Throw it all on the bed. Let's fold it together. Let's get it done. Or he'll walk in and the floor hasn't been mopped and it's dirty as crap. And he's like, it's fine. I'll mop it for you. Don't worry about it. Like, so also having an amazing support system has been helpful, because I know he'll pick up the slack when I'm overwhelmed or there's a lot going on. And that's been awesome too. So lots of communication though. Lots and lots of it.
Well, good. What are some of the things you like to do as a family and as a couple?
We love going on date nights. I feel like that's super, just something that we look forward to. It's time for us to have away from the kids and just talking. We love planning a fun vacation. We try to do one big family vacation a year. The kids really look forward to it. But day to day, like, we love sunshine and playing outside, riding bikes and scooters. We're pretty basic. We don't have like big toys that were out in the mountains and, doing that type of stuff, but just time together. Nothing too crazy, but just spending time.
Good.
One of my favorite things, and everyone thinks it's kind of silly, is I have family dinner every single night at 6:15. Everyone knows we're eating dinner at 6:15. Everyone's welcome. Anybody that knows me knows that I love to feed everybody, but it's our time that we talk about the day. We talk about how the kids' days were. We do at the dinner table, what's the highlight of your day? And so everyone gets to talk about something that was the highlight of the day. And that's something that we all look forward to. And then sometimes there's sad days or they had a crappy day and they want to talk about it. And so the dinner time, I think, is something that's really important to me and something that's not as common these days. Because when I say that to people, are like, wait, you still cook a family dinner every night? So also with autoimmune disease, I feel like it's much easier to cook at home than trying to go out somewhere. So
absolutely. And much less expensive.
Way less expensive.
Yeah, I definitely think that family dinner is something that's nearly extinct in our society, and something that probably would really help a lot of families if they would start doing it.
Yeah, it's great for our family. I mean, it's crazy town with the babies and that hour before bed and you're trying to feed everybody, but it's something I think, and I hope that my kids will remember forever, that we took the time to eat dinner as a family and talk about each other's day.
Great. What would you say to women who have an idea for starting a business or something that they just think could help change, not necessarily the world, but maybe change their community, but maybe they're scared to get started? What advice do you have?
Something that someone told me a long time ago that's stuck with me is basically, if you're not doing it, you're not improving in your life and you're not growing. And so take the risk. Just don't be scared of doing something. And maybe it doesn't work out, but at least you tried and you're giving it your best effort. And so I would always say to people, like, give it a shot and make your dreams happen. Help people if you want to help people. If you have a niche somewhere, create that for people because people want you more than you think that they want you. And that's something that I've even learned. It's like, even growing this business, it's like, am I really helping people? Am I really doing good in the world? And then I get these messages that I am, and it's like, okay, like I can continue to keep going and keep creating. And, so I just think always, always, always go for your dreams. And I think it's powerful for our kids to see us even doing things for ourselves and helping other people or making our dreams come true too.
So tell me what are your plans for the future? What are your goals for the future with Clean Monday Meals?
I just want to continue to help people. I have a bajillion ideas of products on the market that are not there for gluten-free. And I keep talking to my manufacturer and he's like, okay, you need to slow down. We got to do one at a time. And I was like, well, I just want to help a lot of people. Like, we don't have this on the market and this on the market. So I will continue to create products for people to have that are clean ingredients, that are allergy friendly, because I feel like there's a huge need for it on the market. But also the things like the ramen seasoning, where it's like, there isn't a healthy, clean ramen on the market. Like, why isn't there? And, things from your childhood that you remember. One of the things, onion soup dip, I love dipping the chip dip as a kid. And being able to do that again, I feel like a little kid, So like those types of things I will continue to do. That's kind of the goals, just to help more people, create more products, continue to share love and light to everybody.
Where can we follow you and where can we buy your products?
So, Clean Monday Meals on Instagram. I have a TikTok, but I am terrible at TikTok. I don't know how people do TikTok, but I'm trying because I know there's a lot of people that love it. I have my website is cleanmondaymeals.com. And then you can purchase all of my seasonings on my website. We actually are also on Amazon as well. So you can purchase on Amazon. And then locally, I just am in one store so far, and it's called the Lash Bar, and they're in Lehigh. And we do local pickup at our warehouse.
Great.
So,
and I can vouch for these products. They're fantastic. We've really enjoyed them.
Thank you so much. It means a lot.
We're using them in all sorts of meals. So,
yay, I love that.
Well, thank you, Janae, for being here. We really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule and away from your family to talk with us.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, we're grateful that you're here. And we hope everyone has a great day. Join us for our next episode of Inspiring Moms. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Inspiring Moms. If you or someone you know is interested in being featured as an inspiring mom, please contact us at inspiringmoms@mommyhighfive.com.